Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for spending your valuable time with the Adapt 2030 channel. Inflation affecting your family. Yes, above 100%, no above 100. U.S. credit risk higher than Greece and Brazil. Debt default insurance now is more expensive than Greek bonds. We're going to have to default on something, your Social Security. They are going to continue to service the debt. This is why COMEX gold deliveries, big spikes since 2021, South Korea, Indonesia, and others, local currencies, transactions. Pakistan going to pay for all oil in Chinese yuan from this point forward. Now we're going to need to begin navigating the canyons of disruption. Are you ready to find your way through? And as if anything new, we're going to have to explore new ideas, new ways to do things, things that are unpalatable. We're going to learn, can you eat that dirt? Well, perhaps there are minerals in it. Perhaps you can protect your body with it. Others might discard it. That earth will grow your food. We're all going to be like babies moving through this as the world renews itself in many ways, shapes, and forms. Here come the magic numbers. Is inflation affecting your family? No, 124%. Yes, 195%. Must be some inflation in those numbers. I've had a couple interesting telephone calls in the last 2 days talking about this U.S. debt default. Widely making the news headlines right now. Insurance cost eclipsing Brazil, Mexico, and Greece, meaning our risk is higher than those markets. Apparently, it's the highest level in more than a decade and an early sign that political impasse. Each day this drags on. People are like, whoa, U.S. isn't getting its affairs in order. Debt ceiling jitters driving up. What is the unthinkable? Just let that sink in for a second. This is from Wall Street Silver. The U.S. now has a higher credit risk than Mexico, Greece, and Brazil. That's not reassuring. I had to jump over to Bloomberg to find this chart, wide it out for you. Credit risk. Looks like an emerging market. Yeah, it sure does. The U.S. is now relegated to emerging market statuses as we're being firewalled off from the rest of the world. The 80% of GDP is firewalling off the Western Five Eyes nations. And Janet says we have to default on something. And you know what? They're not going to default on the Treasury bills. They're going to default on what is termed internal payments to service external payments. So they're going to have to make a choice here between servicing Treasury bills and debt on foreigners holding those or cut Social Security recipients. What do you think it's going to be? Now, does this make sense now why the U.S. has a higher credit risk than Mexico, Greece, and Brazil? Morgan Stanley warns commercial real estate is headed for a crisis worse than 2008. It's no longer a black swan, it's a flock of black swans. There's a banking crisis, commercial real estate, de-dollarization, rate hikes, and persistent inflation. BRICS is the hottest ticket in town with an additional 19 countries looking to join and move away from the dollar. Mention the Adapt 2030 channel. You're going to get some first-class service. Patriot Gold Group offers the no fee for life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver on qualifying rollovers. 888-546-7020. Call to get your free investor guide today. And now on with the video. Because all I'm seeing is bailing out one and flooding the other. We're going to borrow money from you so we can buy your bonds. The tiger shark swimming. And it really does come down to that. As I was told, a couple of things, just an early warning. If you have to do anything that's involved with online in a government website, handle it now, because as we saw a couple of years ago, remember when they turned off all the National Park Service, you couldn't log into the IRS or many things. Any government website was non-accessible. All the national parks will close, of course, during the high travel season coming up. But if you're going to handle anything government-wise, you're going to want to do that now on the websites while you still can. There is a chance that we will not come into this debt ceiling, but again, the thing's in motion. It does seem like it's needed to move us over to the central bank digital currencies. Secondly, as it was explained, we're splitting a hair here. We're going to split a gray hair. The default will not be all-encompassing. The U.S. will try its best and use the monies it has to service the debt obligations on Treasury bills, those that are coming due, interest payments for foreign governments holding U.S. Treasury bills. What will be sacrificed will be you and Social Security. Now, is it going to come down to the food payments and the EBT assistance also being cut at the chopping block? If that happens, you're going to have just a couple short days to get to the supermarkets to be able to get what you need before it's going to become a situation that you're going to want to stay home for a minute. Again, storable foods come into this, but if you have extra food that you got at the supermarket, make sure you got some seeds in the ground. Lettuces come up really quickly, 7-10 days, you're already starting to get, if you go with microgreens, you're going to need some fresh veg. So now put all these in order. Servicing the debt does not default. Now, the U.S. can keep going along at this rate as long as they need to. But internally, when we get these massive service cuts, Medicare, Social Security, and whatever else is deemed unnecessary, it's really going to have a huge, huge impact here. Outside, not so much. The credit rating will stay sort of intact, and that's what they're wishing for. That was a distant early warning. And make sure you get to the websites if you need to, because those will close in like a fraction of a second. And it makes no sense. If fees are already paid and government websites are already up and running, why would they cut those off? Oh, the government's non-functional. Other than they cut off the websites that are still functional. They just pressed a button to make it inactive. So we're into kind of this conundrum right now, and it's going to get dicey. And I just wonder how much on purpose diciness this will have to move us to the next system. Now you can clearly see this is a step to push into the next direction, to the next system. CBDCs is definitely seems to be the direction it needs to go. And how long can the U.S. hold on the external payments? Like I say, cut the internal. How many months will that go before then they just stop paying external and it sends a full cascade through every market? Obviously, after the elite have pulled all their money out of any of the vulnerable institutions, a couple months maybe. Leave your comment in the description box below. How long is it, do you think? Because more unexplainables here. Tolerances off granite blocks carved with supposedly copper or some sort of tools that just don't make sense, and we can barely replicate this today except for poured molds. Also, how do you have melted rock with such large hands unless there were times of giants prior? These are the unexplainables through history. The obelisk of Aswan, 40 meters long, 138 feet, and 1,090 tons. Yeah, they were going to move that by horse and carriage. Sure they were. Sound acoustic levitation, anyone? Just asking. Because back to the Hong Kong overnight funding cost jump. Away they go too. It seems all-encompassing here. Something's going to have to switch. Oh, wait, Zimbabwe backs digital money with 140 kg of gold. That's where the switch is going to come from and go to have a secure base for money once again. Depletion of reserves. What does that mean? Depletion of the gold reserves across the planet. It's reallocated across all nations that participate in a gold-backed currency. I think so. COMEX gold delivery, thousands of troy ounces. You notice 2007, trickling along. 2015, barely anything. 2019, a smidgen. And then 2021, 22, 23. What's going on there? Why so much gold being taken out? This is from Incrementum. And if we look on the BRICS side of things for a moment, to kind of wind back to the debt ceiling debacle here, Argentina dropping dollar trade and going to trade with Chinese yuan. Now, so far, it looks like around $13.5 billion will be spent with the yuan for cross-border trades, Argentina. Then we move over to South Korea. Indonesia are going to promote local currency transactions. Before they did that with dollars, but now they're going away from that. Unbeknownst if it'll be the yuan or the rupiah, or if they're going to use something as an intermediary on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, unknown, but they've already agreed to stop using dollars there. And Pakistan keen to pay for Russian oil with Chinese yuan. I dug a little bit deeper into the story. That's off Bloomberg. If you're interested, there's a daisy chain of all these stories coming through a lot of the financial publications. Pakistan switched to yuan to buy Russian oil, 750,000 barrels. June, next month, 2023. No dollar, yuan only. and we'll see where that takes us. Into the billions not used again. That money will come flooding home eventually. Now also, New York is going to be the first city to implement something called congestion pricing. It's a toll plan for peak hours. So if you enter the city or drive in certain areas of the city with a car, with vehicle, delivery vehicle, whatever, you're going to be toll charged for that. This is the beginning of the ringing in of the microcosm of our, 15-minute cities. Are you ready to live in this? This is your cohabitation. That circle is what you'll get to walk around as your exercise platform. If you're good, if you don't upset the apple cart. It does seem that we're coming into the next amplification phase of post-COVID. You know, the things that are happening across the planet right now. Now, it's really interesting. It dovetails into this catastrophic ozone depletion event occurring in the southern hemisphere. Now, they're still 2.5 months away from really where the column starts to dissipate with ozone, where you can get some measurable declines, but it's way off the decline scale. As you can see, these 5 areas here in the southern hemisphere showing rapid depletion already. That shouldn't happen until late June, early July. The effects on plant life, animal life, and agriculture will be astounding. And I just can't believe all this amplification is coming right now with the ramp up of this ozone depletion event. The sulfur dioxide swinging around the planet from the Shivelushi eruption still. And all the disruptions in the supply chains, and now we see the ramp up, what's happening in Eastern Europe. So all of this is baking into the cake, along with the fertilizer shortages and disruptions of deliveries of that. We're definitely into the next step up, literally a next step up. So everything we've seen up to this point, is like, had the COVID, that's one step. And then the intermediate things that have mixed and mashed societies in ways, shapes, and forms, that was the second step up. Discombobulated, but definitely it was a package of stepping up. This time we are going into an absolute next big step up. So this summer, again, I can't say it enough, grow your own food. Now, Ransom Godwin and myself, we talk about this every Thursday night. Revolution Radio, many Ice Age conversations, all these links right here found through libertylinks.io/solar minimum will take you to all the streaming platforms that we are on during those 2 hours. And storable foods, 3-month emergency food supply, Adapt 2030, and my Patriot supply. Those links are in the description box below. And since I did talk about gardening, I do trust True Leaf Market, Heirloom, and Organic Seeds. Check out what they have to offer, and I'm sure you can even get one of their starter garden kits. If you've never even put a seed in the soil before, it is time, because we are out of time. I do appreciate you listening and hope you got something out of the video. Bye for now.